Hello and welcome to the EggBanana podcast. I'm Ryan.
And I'm Mark.
And I'm Edward.
So, our last episode, we were talking about famous vacation spots here in Taiwan that you can go and visit. So, in today's episode, we're going to talk about something a bit more in the city, in Taipei. So, Taipei as a city actually has a lot of famous places and tourist spots where a lot of tourists can go and visit without even going outside the city. So this episode we're going to talk about some tourist spots that's well known and maybe some spots that we consider famous. So, and hopefully between us three we can share maybe like a hidden spot that a lot of tourists may not know since we've been here for a while. So do you guys have any famous tourist spots that's well known for a lot of tourist people when they come to Taipei?
We'll let Edward start.
Okay. So for me, when I first moved to Taipei, I actually lived in a place in Taiwan called Taidandalo, which is actually near the Taipei Taipower MRT station, and it's close to a place called Sida. And Sida Daxue is actually one of the famous schools in Taipei. A lot of people will go there to learn Chinese, and it's also, I guess, known as one of the more renowned schools if you want to become a teacher. So I really like that place because it's close to the night market, like a really small one, and there was a lot of kind of eateries and food. And then also one MRT station away, which is very quick by MRT, would be Gongguan, and then the other way would be Guting. So basically everything around there to me was worth exploring, I would say. So that's one place I would recommend any people who are fortunate to live in Taiwan or to come visit to go check out. Ryan, how about you?
Oh, wow, yeah, favorite spots. I guess I'm a little bit unusual. I have to go with one of my favorite spots being the IT Mall. Do you know which one I'm talking about? Over at Zhongxiao Xinsheng, the Guanghua
IT Mall.
Yeah, the one where you can.
Electronic Plaza.
Yeah, Electronics Plaza, Guanghua. Yeah, I like to go there.
Go to, Edward. Every single day you go there.
Hey, Mark, why are you blowing up my spot like that? Yeah, I love that place. It's basically, I gotta keep this PG-13, but I basically have my little nerdgasm over there. But Ryan, you talk about it. Yes, I do like to go there every day, but you explain to the audience.
Viewers?
Yeah.
Viewers?
Yeah, so it's like if you could imagine maybe like living in the US or other countries, maybe you know, if you love building computers or you like, you know, looking at like graphics cards or CPUs or like just whatever, like camera equipment, whatever, usually you'd look at it, you'd have to order it online or something, but there they have pretty much like everything you could ever imagine, like in stock. And you could just go there and build a computer. You could do pretty much anything. I think the prices are pretty reasonable there. But yeah, it's probably one of the best electronics malls, I think, in the world. And considering, especially since, and a lot of people don't know this, a good majority of all computer parts are built or at least engineered by Taiwanese engineers or built in Taiwan or in a factory in China that's still engineered by Taiwanese engineers. So all these companies, Asus, Acer, MSI, Gigabyte, like all of them, right? They're all Taiwanese companies. And then even like the iPhone and what else? I forget, is it the Pixel, or several different phones are also manufactured here, or like I said, in a factory in China, but still engineered by Taiwanese engineers. So yeah, I think Taiwan's the place to be if you're like a computer geek like me. So
right, I would just add that basically there's a lot of I'm kind of a phone nerd, but basically, there's a lot of cell phone, like Ryan was saying, manufacturers and companies here that you don't get in the States. Because basically in the States, you have access to iPhone, Samsung. I think right now is like OnePlus, but in Taiwan, you were able to get there's Oppo, there's Xiaomi, there was Huawei for a while, but you guys know what happened there. I don't want to talk further about that. And then to go back to what you're talking about, the tech area, you said, Brian, it was called Guangfu, right?
Guanghua.
Oh, sorry, Guanghua. Basically, it's like a nerd's paradise, like a tech nerd's paradise, like I am as well as Ryan is. Basically, everything is there. Cell phones, laptops, computers. If you're into video games, Switch, PS4, all that stuff. And then if you go up, go ahead.
I was gonna say that, like, speaking of phones and stuff, like, there's the Asus ROG store where you can go and check out all of, like, even like they have the gaming ROG phones. Of course, I know HTC is not as popular these days, but I've had several HTC phones, and of course HTC VR gear and things like that. So unfortunately, HTC moved out of the main part of the mall. They're just located outside. But yeah, HTC is another great Taiwanese company. So sorry. Go ahead.
It's okay. I was gonna say, and then also, I forgot. There's Vivo. So if you guys are listening from this outside of Asia, you probably haven't heard a lot of these brands. So for me, it's kind of like a dream come true because like we have access and able to see all these different phones that you don't see in the North American market. And then if you go further up in the mall, basically you have, if you're into like anime, manga, they have a bunch of like action, I don't know if you want to call it action figures or figurines, like all that stuff up there. So it was very interesting, and like every subsequent floor has different kind of like electronics, headphones, bows, like you name it, they basically have it there. So I have to concur with my guy right here. That's one of my favorite spots as well too. So if Ryan, if you don't have anything else to say, I give it to Mark. Is there any place that kind of tickles your fancy in Taipei?
Well, I was going to mention, since you guys were talking about the Electronic Plaza, I was going to let the viewers know, or the listeners know, next to the Electronic Plaza is Art Plaza? Do you guys know what I'm talking about? There's like a block away from the Electronic Plaza, there's a kind of like an art museum.
Oh, right. I don't know what it's called, but I know what you're talking about. They have kind of like art exhibitions, and there's like a bunch of different galleries and like kind of things that you can walk into. That's what you're talking about, right?
Yeah. So that's kind of pretty interesting. And it's right real close to that area. And then at the beginning of the episode, you were talking about, Edward, what was the university you were talking about?
So it's called Sida University, or Chinese.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah,
no, the area is called what's it called? Taidian Dalo. Taidian Dalo is like the name of the MRT.
Oh,
it's like Tai Power. Yeah.
Tai Power Station.
So,
right.
Yeah, Tai Power Station. So yeah, and near there is the night market, Sidana. Yes. And then yeah, there's the university, and then on the other side of the university is another night market, Dongguan, Dongmen market. And then you talked about the next station over was Gongguan University, and Gongguan Station. But the famous university, NTU, National Taiwan University, is there. And actually, the campus there is actually really. Yeah, it's actually really beautiful. So, especially at night, I would suggest people who come to like Taipei to actually visit that area. So, the campus is really beautiful there. So, I would definitely recommend that. Another, I guess, popular spot usually a lot of people usually go to is Taipei Zoo, and then near the Taipei Zoo is the cable car that goes to the Maokong cable car. Have you guys been on that? The cable car, Maokong cable car?
Yeah, right. So it's called, I think, Maokong Gondola, right? And then
Gondola?
because you guys had kind of referenced a similar one near Sun Moon Lake, right? Correct, from a previous episode. So the interesting thing about that is you go in a cable car and you go from the bottom and it ascends all the way up the mountain. And a fun fact is, if you want and you're more of a thrill seeker, you can get a cable car that has a see-through bottom panel, meaning you could see, like when you're way up in the air, you could see like all the the bottom, which can be kind of thrilling / scary. So yeah, I agree with you. That is a great place to go.
And also, I was going to mention, once you get to the top, there's not much to look at. There's a couple shops, but you can take a taxi or you can walk to a tea house. That's not very far from there. I would say maybe about a 15-minute walk. It's a little bit of a distance, but once you get there, it's actually really nice. They have a good selection of food, and I think it's open like 24 hours. I don't exactly know the name of the tea house, but it's actually a really nice location, and so I definitely recommend that. I'll have to go back and like search for the names and give you guys the names later. So is there any other famous spots or destinations around Taipei that you guys would recommend checking out?
There's a lot of cool underground shopping areas, like one time we met over there at Beiman, and underground there's like Edward mentioned earlier about like all the anime collectibles and things like that in the Guanghua, in the Electronic Plaza. They also have some of those things along the underground shopping area where there's a bunch of like Indonesian restaurants and stuff. We ate there at least once.
I remember that.
And you can walk underground all the way from like Beiman to Taipei Main Station, and then from Taipei Main Station you can also walk to, is it Zhongshan or?
I think
do you remember?
Something like Songshan. Like you can go north from Taipei Main, almost like 2 stations, like MRT stations. Like it's all underground. Very interesting.
It kind of reminded me of like I lived in Korea for a short time. I don't think I really mentioned it on our podcast, but when I was in Korea, if it would rain outside, you could spend all day underground just shopping without getting wet or anything like that. And that's kind of what that area reminds me of, like Beiman to Taipei Main Station to Zhongshan. There's just endless amounts of like underground shopping and places to eat at and things to see, and it's pretty cool, I think. Yeah.
I think it's really cool. Yeah. It's like there's definitely a lot of things and shops down there that you can definitely look at, especially on a rainy day. And when
there's even a Japanese-made cafe.
Was there? I don't remember that.
Right next to the Beiman entrance to the mall, underground mall. There's a little maid cafe there, Japanese-style maid cafe.
Interesting.
Right near all of the Indonesian restaurants. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. Sorry to cut you off.
Speaking
Go ahead.
of Japanese, I was in Korea. It kind of reminded me when I stayed in Kyoto for a short time. Some of the subway stations also had a couple underground passages from one station to another station. So yeah, it's really fascinating, really interesting. That's definitely here in Taipei. From Taipei Main Station, you can, even though Taipei Main Station is a huge station and you can definitely get lost, but once you can find that underground mall, it's really fascinating, very interesting. So what about you, Edward? Is there any other place you would recommend, like people to check out?
A place I think is very interesting, and I'm sure you guys are familiar with it. Is a place called Ximending, or I guess Taiwanese people call it Ximending. So it's basically one stop on the MRT from Taipei Main Station, and you guys can jump in later and give me your thoughts too. But for me, I like that place because it's very modern. It's very touristy. There's a bunch of shops. So you have like a combination of a bunch of retail stores, and then there's a lot of interesting like kind of food carts and stuff that you can buy. And then I also like that area because for some reason, I don't know how it got this reputation or why this happened. There's always these kind of like shows going on. Like, for example, there's a guy kind of throwing around his Chinese yo-yo. Sometimes people are dancing or doing magic. So it's kind of it's very appealing for me for that. So I would say if you come to Taiwan and then you want to check out a pretty cool place that's very modern and sometimes has like little interesting shows, I would definitely recommend Ximen or Ximending. What do you guys think about that? Because you guys are probably, wink wink, a little bit more familiar with that area than I am, right?
Yeah, it's definitely a big area. Definitely a lot of shops and things to look at. So
Yeah, if anybody's familiar with like Shinjuku or Harajuku, Akihabara, like these areas in Tokyo, Ximen really reminds me a lot of that part of Japan. So that's one of the reasons why I really liked it. I felt like living in Taiwan and being able to go around Ximen, it was almost like visiting Japan in a way, except for, everybody speaking Mandarin instead of Japanese, of course. But a lot of the like similar atmosphere, yeah.
So what you're saying is, if I've been to Ximen, I don't need to go to Japan anymore, right? No, I'm just kidding.
Exactly. Yeah.
Ryan, how about you? Oh, go ahead, sorry.
Oh, I was just going to also point out another famous spot that it to is Danshui. So I think, Edward, you're familiar with Danshui since you're near there. And there's a night market there, but I was going to mention a little bit further north from the night market is a fisherman's wharf, and there's a bridge they call Lover's Bridge. So, but I would definitely recommend going there and taking some photos of the sunset, or just checking out the sunset while you're there. So I think it's really beautiful there. Definitely worth checking out. There's kind of a beach near there as well. So
I would add to what you're saying because I don't know if I talked about it in the previous episode, but basically they opened up like a new line near my house called the I believe it's called Danhai Line. So actually, if you take that, it takes you to Danshui's Fisherman's Wharf. So it's funny that you're talking about that. And I actually went there with some people, and like Mark says, it's a very nice place, and you guys, it's very like rustic, very scenic, and I was walking around. So yes, I will co-sign your recommendation. Very good. Boom. Very good. Yes. Ryan, how about you? Is there anywhere else that you would recommend in Taipei to go to?
Just to add a little bit to your guys' comments about Danshui, yeah, I think it's a really cool place, especially if the weather's nice. If of course, if it's raining, there's not like a whole lot of cover there. Like, I think you can't do a whole lot there. But if it's a nice day or even cloudy or sunny, whatever, beautiful area, ride your bike, ride your skateboard, rollerblades, whatever, sit in the grass, bunch of street vendors. You can buy like little, almost like night market type food. And like Mark mentioned, there's also like, I think like a street, pretty long street that has a bunch of night market like vendors. Had some really good food over in that area. But yeah, there's a lot of cool things to do. We've all gone there several times, and yeah, cool place to hang out outdoors for sure. Other than Danshui, go ahead.
I was just going to point out near Danshui, there's also a historic area.
Oh yes,
it's a Fort San Domingo? I forgot exactly. But the funny thing is there's a Chinese nickname called Hong Mao, which I guess they called those people the Dutch that were there at the time many years ago. So Hong Mao means like red hair. So, and I guess these people had red hair or were redhead. So. But that area is actually really beautiful and worth checking out. So, very, how to say, like a lot of nature there.
Historical?
But it's also historical, yeah. So,
one thing I want to talk about, since you brought up the Hong Mao. Hong Mao is obviously the Mandarin pronunciation, but the the Taiwanese or the Hokkien pronunciation is Angmo, and this is the very common way to say foreigner in Singapore, since they also have a strong influence of various Chinese dialects and other languages. But Angmo, Angmo is the very common way that you would say like white guy or something, kind of like that in a way. And I guess it came from like thinking that they had like red hair or whatever. And there's like a area that's called like Angmo Kyo, like Kyo is Chiao. Bridge Chiao is Kyo in Hokkien or Taiwanese, so Angmo Kyo is like red hair bridge or whatever. But I think due to some controversy or something, maybe some people felt like it might not be polite or something. I think that some areas may have changed the characters that they use for Angmo, so it might not actually be like red hair in some situations. But yeah, that's where it originated from.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you, is that okay if like someone just sees you and you're a Caucasian guy, if they're like homo or like a red hair guy, if that was like acceptable practice or something like that, you know what I mean?
I don't mind.
Ryan,
I don't mind.
It would be Lan Tofa.
Yeah. Lan Mao. No.
For Ryan, it would be Mega Libai. Guy Tofa. Every week changes hairstyle. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. No, I don't.
Yes.
I don't mind all of these like different terms for foreigner. Like when I was in Thailand, people call me Farang. Like that's the common way to say foreigner. In Japanese, it's Gaijin. In in Chinese, it's, you could say obviously Wai Guoren or Lao Wai. I think in Hong Kong or Cantonese they say like Guailo or something like that, and there's just so many ways, but I don't think it's really that offensive. I think it's just like a little nickname, not really necessarily any offense meant by it, I think.
Yeah,
so, but yeah,
I agree.
Angmo, very common in Singapore, so, and Malaysia too.
Okay.
Yep.
Interesting. So any other places? I was going to mention actually around Taipei or near Taipei, there's actually a lot of hiking trails. I don't know if those are considered tourist spots, but definitely very beautiful scenery. So I think a lot of people go up to Elephant Mountain, which is near Taipei 101, and you can actually see a beautiful view of Taipei 101 from Elephant Mountain. So, and then there's Yangmingshan. That's just a bit north from Taipei. So, and at Yangmingshan you can see a lot of. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, we can't forget to mention some of the famous places, like I think you may have already mentioned a little bit, but like Chiang Kai-shek, like the Zhongzheng Jinian Guan, and then the Guofu Jinian Tang, I think it is, the Sun Yat-sen Memorial.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
These places are very, very popular for tourists. In fact, whenever you arrive, they, like, if you arrive by train, they even announce these stops in Japanese for Japanese people because it's so common. And also Zhongshan. Yeah, Zhongshan, they also, like, when you arrive at Zhongshan, they say Nakayama Eki. Nakayama Eki means Zhongshan Jan, or station. Yeah, so yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I think it's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Well, definitely.
What other famous spots are there, like CKS and Sun Yat-sen?
For me, I don't know if it's a famous spot, but like a place I like to go to, and I probably recommend people who are visiting in Taiwan, is probably like the Zhongshan Fuxing, Zhongshan Donghua area, especially Zhongshan Donghua. It's more touristy because you have like Uniqlo, a bunch of different clothing stores, a bunch of different like restaurants, that kind of thing. So if you kind of if you're really into shopping, that kind of thing, I always recommend that area as well, I would say too.
Yeah, Zhongshan Dunhua was one of my favorite spots too before I started going to Ximen more often. I feel like Ximen has more things like like compact, like closer together and more things to see. But if you don't mind walking a bit further, like Zhongshan Dunhua has a lot of cool things. Also, like in the back alleys, like people don't realize that like on the main street there's a lot of cool things, but if you go into like one or two, maybe even three streets in behind the main streets on both sides, just tons and tons of great restaurants and little boutique shops and things like that. So yeah, Zhongshan Dunhua is definitely a really cool area for people to check out.
I was also going to do a quick shout out for really quick. I don't know if we mentioned it, but Nehu, especially the Miramar area, that also has like the movie theater, the big Ferris wheel I always see, and then just again a lot of really nice malls as well as restaurants, I would say too.
Yeah, I think the Ferris wheel is like very, very kind of beautiful. It definitely stands out, so you can see that from a long distance. So I also was going to mention Taipei 101. So Taipei 101 is like probably one of the most famous spot in Taipei. And I think the price to go up is still maybe like 500 NT, 500 kwai. Which is roughly like $15. So, I've been up a few times. It's definitely beautiful when you get clear sky, but I've been up there one time when it was cloudy, and it's like a bit of disappointment because you really can't see anything. So, and then
every time I've gone, it was cloudy.
Oh, really?
Could never. Yeah, I could never. But they will usually tell you. They'll say like, "We can sell you this ticket to go up, but just know that it's cloudy and you probably can't see anything." And sorry, no refunds or something like that. So usually they're supposed to tell you. They shouldn't just take your money, but yeah, it's definitely something worth checking out. Even if you can't go up, if you can only stand outside and like look and take a picture straight up, or like take a selfie, or have somebody take a photo of you with it in the background, it's really cool. That whole area is really cool. There's like shopping malls and outdoor.
Yeah. I was about to mention that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So like a block from Taipei 101, there's like a huge shopping mall, and it looks like it kind of goes from Taipei 101 to I forgot that station
City Hall
on the red
City Hall.
Yeah.
It's a blue line. Yeah. So you walk from the red line to blue line.
Yeah, blue line. Yeah. So the red line and blue line runs parallel to each other, and there's a lot of shopping malls along that area. So definitely a lot of things to see. Let's see, what else? Anything else?
I think that we could probably go all day talking about all the cool places around Taipei and whatnot, but we probably better wrap up this episode pretty soon. Before we do, I was going to mention maybe Banqiao. I mean, Banqiao's got some really cool things as well to see, like a little bit down. Also, like a few stations from Taipei Main Station down the blue line. I think it's 4 or 5, maybe 6 stations. It's pretty big area. A lot of things in that area. Any other places you think worth mentioning before we wrap it up for this episode?
Not really, but I would just say again, like if you come to Taipei, if you come to Taiwan and then you go to Taipei, whatever interests you have, whatever things you're into, like you're gonna be able to find it somewhere on the MRT. And basically, we've already mentioned a lot of great places to go to, but I'm sure there are other places that we didn't have the time or the opportunity to mention. So definitely go. There's a lot of, basically, bottom line, there's a lot of places to go to.
Yeah, and maybe worth mentioning, especially for people who haven't been to Taiwan just yet. If you arrive, like if you fly into Taiwan, you're not actually flying into Taipei. You're flying into Taoyuan, and then you have to take either a train or something to get to Taipei, right? So you could take a train straight. Yes.
There's an MRT called Airport Express MRT, and it will take you directly from the airport to Taipei. So
yeah, it's purple line, right? Yeah. Yep. So it'll pass through Sanchong, and then I think to Taipei Main Station or Beiman, and then Taipei Main Station or something like that. Yeah. So I guess that's about it. So, what's our topic for the next episode, guys?
You guys are like looking at me.
I'm looking at you.
So,
Yeah.
So our next episode or our next topic will be talking about, I guess, food here in Taipei. So I know previously we had talked about food and food. Well, in our
Night
first season, we
markets?
had talked about the night markets and foods in the night markets. So our next episode will kind of go more out, how to say, like, broaden out outside of the night markets and talk about some other areas around Taipei that we consider worth trying out. Foods that a lot of tourists or visitors should try when coming visiting Taipei. So, anything else
Awesome.
to add to that?
No, I think
would
that's
just say-
good.
I was just gonna add to what Mark said because he said it so eloquently. I would just say I would consider all three of us to be well-renowned foodies. So basically, the next episode is also going to talk about our experiences in the food genre and then what places that we like to eat. So we definitely think it's going to be a good episode, and you guys should definitely check it out.
Cool. All right. Well, that wraps up this episode. We'll see you guys in the next episode. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel if you're watching our YouTube channel. And also subscribe to our Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, wherever you may be listening to this if you're not on our YouTube. And follow us on social media. Where can they find us on social media, guys?
So we're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We have a website. Basically, if it exists, you'll find us there. And we're very happy to interact with you guys. We love all the comments and anything you want to, maybe you have like a future episode you want to hear about or a topic that you think that we should discuss or a question that you have, feel free to hit us up on any of the aforementioned social media, okay?
All right. Thanks, everyone.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.